is always on the top of our minds, isn't it, Pat? Obviously, last night we had a bit of a back-and-forth game, one that's I think people have a little mixed emotions about what happened last night. The Buffalo Bills win 31-10 over the Miami Dolphins. Pat, what's your initial thoughts on that game? Obviously, everyone talking about Tua, but also the Bills played very, very well.
Yeah, heartbroken for Oos, obviously, and that was a scary scene there. And on the complete opposite side, shout out to Damar Hamlin completing his full comeback, led the team in tackles. But anytime you see a player, especially one that we know in the past has had certain injuries in the, to the head area before, end up like that on prime time, not great news. I will say to Tua and his family and his friends, we are all incredibly bummed out. Because what we've seen Tua do as a Miami Dolphins quarterback, especially after getting this new deal with Tyreek, with Waddle, with all the weapons they have, it is electrifying. Football is better whenever Tua is under center for that McDaniel offense for the Miami Dolphins. Now, for the game part of this entire thing, boy, Josh Allen continues his dominance of the Miami Dolphins. And I wanted to come in here and just dunk on Gumpy and all the Dolphins fans that thought last night was an opportunity for them to win. The injury to Tua obviously dampers that entire thing. What's the future look like with Skylar Thompson? But the Buffalo Bills don't look now. Massive comeback win week one, a dominating win on Thursday Night Football. And this new era of Buffalo Bills football feels like it's going to be Josh Allen led with a defense that is physical. AJ, you talk about this. Whenever we played, when we were down there for the Texas-Oklahoma game, you could tell who was the more dominant team by how they were hitting, how they were getting up. It felt like the Buffalo Bills defense with a lot of new pieces, with some names that we don't know, and Bernard gets hurt early. He's one of the names that everybody was kind of like rallying around, and that linebacker position seems to be snake bitten for the Buffalo Bills. But whenever they're getting up, they were hitting. They were very physical. Felt like they were the much more physical team in this entire thing. So I'm very high on the Buffalo Bills after last night. I'm bummed out for the Miami Dolphins. But I thought, it was a nice start to week 2 of the NFL season, AJ.
Yeah, it definitely was. And I know, I'm sure we'll talk more about Tua's head situation and what happened with him. But I think, first off, you got to give this D-line credit for the Buffalo Bills. Von Miller, obviously looking like his old self. We have some stuff of him. I know he's getting some crazy get-offs, crazy times. How fast he is getting to the quarterback. Fastest, right? Which is nuts to think. I mean, look at this dude's get off, boom. He's unbelievable. He uses his hands very, very well. Epinesa obviously had some great pressures all night. Love watching this team. But you're right, it felt different. It felt like a team that knew that they were going to win, or a team that was expecting to win. I think offensively and defensively, they felt like it's like, hey, these guys are absolutely confident in what the plan is, and they seem to go out there and execute that thing.
They certainly did. And McDermott's got to be thrilled. Obviously, anytime you lose a lot of big-name players like they have, Poyer, Morse, Stephon Diggs just had 2 touchdowns for the Houston Texans. And then you let James Cook, which I think has been a Joe Brady staple ever since he's gotten the reins of the Buffalo Bills offense. It's like new stars are about to blossom up there in Buffalo, and we know the Bills Mafia is going to be insane. James Cook went bananas. And people have said, let James Cook. Did you hear that? Let James Cook.
Yeah.
Do you see? Do you understand what that means though? Like, because his name is James Cook.
Shit! Sure.
That just started yesterday,
thought
right?
It was like cook like a chef.
All right. Everybody relax. Everybody relax. But this has been the Buffalo Bills calling card since Joe Brady became the offense coordinator. Everybody for that Buffalo Bills team after the first game when Joe Brady was the offense coordinator last year, coming down the tunnel after James Cook goes bananas, looks at the social media team for the Buffalo Bills and says, let James Cook. That has literally been the entirety of it all. We were very confused why James Cook was not getting the rock early with Dorsey last year. Now it feels like they know he's a guy. They're going to treat him as a guy. And Josh Allen, with his ability to run, with James Cook now a very viable threat every single week, it's like, look out. And Shakir's doing his thing. You got Kincaid making plays. Knox is going to show up for them. It's like this Buffalo Bills team has to feel great. And to your point about Von Miller, I talked to him down at Texas A&M. He said he felt healthy. He felt good. He was ready to bounce back, prove a lot of people wrong. He renegotiated his contract, restructured it to give the Buffalo Bills more money. Feels like he's in a great spot. Brandon Beane had a very tight tie on whenever he was up in the booth last night. They showed him. Feels like vibes are through the roof for the Buffalo Bills and Bills Mafia, as they should be. Now, on the flip side, Gumpy.
Come on.
Gumpsh. Gumps, this was it. This was the year. This was potentially going to be it. The vibes are high. This is the best team I've been on, Tyreek Hill said. And then obviously the potential galvanizing situation that took place before week 1 on the streets of Miami there. And then you got a short week taking on a division rival that you haven't had much success against. And then obviously the Tua injury is a bummer. But before that even happened, felt like Buffalo had this game in the bag. Gumps, how do you feel, bub? How does the Finn fam, how's the Doll fam feel about everything going on in Miami right now? Skylar Thompson's the guy going forward, I guess, and is that the only quarterback they're going to have? How do you feel, Gump?
Feels like it was a good season. There's that there's that sweet comeback week 1. Sweet comeback week 1. We were behind at half. We marched back. The Tua stuff is heartbreaking. Obviously, love him at quarterback, love him on the Dolphins team. But, even before that, the Bills were running through us. We didn't replace – the Wilkins thing, we talk about it all the time. He didn't get replaced. Jacksonville ran all over us. I want to be optimistic, but right now, I tell you what, it is the same old Dolphins, brother. It never changes.
I don't want to cut you off, but I know I just did. Do you want them to go sign somebody to be the starting quarterback, though? What do Miami fans think? Do you want to bring Tom Brady in? What's the plan?
Everybody wants them to bring Tanny home.
I've heard Tom Brady as well. They want to get him out of the booth and bring him down.
Let me throw out something else, and maybe not the best idea. Call the Rams. Jimmy G knows the system. Let Jimmy G go. Why not? What options? I don't know what options we have. It's Tanny or Jimmy G, or even call the Broncos for Stidham. Stidham can
trade for Carson Wentz.
Mike White practice squad.
Like I said, options are limited here, boys. I mean,
what about
it's a good season, like I said.
The Tom Brady situation is certainly a hilarious one to think about. What if Tom Brady did some self-assessment after week 1 in the booth and said, "Nah, I'm not doing it."
What?
And then if he goes and plays somewhere else, can he still be the owner of the Raiders if he's playing for the Dolphins? Because we do know that it has now come out true that there was a potential chance him and Sean Payton go down to Miami. There's Tampa, yada, 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 yada. That'd be a fun little story. It sucks that Joe Flacco is such a vital piece of the Indianapolis Colts because it feels like he would be perfect for that Miami Dolphins offense. I think the only thing they should be worrying about is a quarterback that is accurate. That is the only thing that they should be looking for, because with that offense, if you're accurate, you're going to be able to kind of manage it and go through it. I just heard Tone Diggs there, though, say, we're talking about new quarterbacks. And I think we heard Coach McDaniel, who kissed Tua on the forehead last night, and everybody kind of made a big deal out of that. Obviously, he loves him like he's his own boy. I think that is how McDaniel coaches and cares about. He said everybody just automatically talking about what Tua should do is kind of a disservice to Tua. This is his career, not everybody else's career. I think everybody, though, with the world that we're in, with everything we've seen and that Dr. Will Smith movie and what the future could look like, everybody 2 years ago was thinking that Tua should not play football again. Now it happens again on primetime football. Feels like everybody's calling for him to not play football. To Diggs's point of his tweet, I think it's going to be very difficult to tell Tua not to play football again. I think it's going to be very difficult for that decision to be made by him, especially as somebody that loves, breathes, and eats football like Tua has his entire life with his family. But that is certainly a decision that they're going to have to make over the next few weeks, and I'll be excited to see the reaction to all of it. Tone, I think your big takeaway is it's going to be very difficult just to tell Tua to stop playing football, right? That's kind of your takeaway of it all?
He's a competitor and a football player, and he's had, I think, 4 or 5 diagnosed concussions. He had 3 in 2022, and then this one, and then as a senior at Alabama. And that's a lot of concussions, but as a football player, he's gonna feel better, probably, hopefully, in a couple weeks. And once you feel better as a football player, your natural instinct is just to get back on the field. Yes, he has a family, his children or whatever, but as a football player, and that's all you know, and that's all you've done, and you're still young in your whole life, it's gonna be really hard to convince him not to play football anymore. When hopefully, after these concussion symptoms clear, he feels perfectly fine again. As a football player, once you feel perfectly fine again, you want to be back on the football field.
And I think there's going to be people that are going to come out and say you got to take it out of his hands. The adult in the room is going to have to make the decision. And then, Tua's probably going to say, well, I had 3 concussions in that one season. I'm pretty still quick with it.
He is the adult, though, Pat. He is an adult. Yeah. So all they can do is present him all the information, present him everything, all the tests, let you know. You can get 10 different opinions from different doctors, but it's not anybody's decision but Tua and his family, what he does. It's not even up to us we can tell him whatever we want, have an opinion, but This is the dude's life. This is what he's doing. Like, and there's guys getting concussions all over the field. It's a terrible situation, obviously, but like we can't sit there and tell Tua, hey, you better shut it down, buddy, because you're not gonna have a great life after football. Like, that's on him.
Hey, there's some real grandstanding going on right now.
So much. It's crazy.
Well, I found out last night his next concussion, it's either death or paralyzed is what.
Oh, who said that?
The doctors on the internet is what a lot of them said last night. So that's, I mean, if that is the case, if the next one that happens, he should definitely.
What do you think, Pat? I don't know what that.
We're moving. There's a TV here that is like right below me, so I'm looking straight down. I'm asking if they can put it up on this table over here, so it is not as drastic. Great work by this team here. I want to let you know this team here. If we could get it near TV there, thank you so much. It's an incredible team here with a lot of hardworking people, which I genuinely appreciate and everything like that. But for me, I think it's going to be very difficult to tell him to stop playing football, especially after the big deal that was just signed and everything. And if you listen to what Kirk Herbstreit said last night during the call, and we'll talk about Al Michaels for sure. A lot of people talk about Al Michaels, but during the call, Herbie said that the only thing Tua wants to do is win. All Tua wants to do is win, win, win. That's all he thinks about. It's like, is Tua going to end his football career on a Thursday Night Football loss to the Buffalo Bills in week 2? I know a lot of other people have ideas for him. I think it's going to be very difficult to get him to say that. And I think that was what McDaniel was kind of alluding to whenever he was like, hey, this is his career. This isn't everybody else's. But boy, there's a lot of people that know brain trauma and have watched movies and documentaries that are telling him he needs to not play anymore. And for me, if he chose not to play anymore, I would understand. But if he chose to play again, I think that's the most expected outcome. Yeah. And I know that's not me saying that. That's not me saying. I'm just trying to tell you what I think is inevitable here in a few weeks for Tua Tagovailoa.
Do we know what the whole concussion protocol, if there's any time frame? Like, he could technically, he could clear the protocol in 3 or 4 weeks and be back out there if he wanted to. I'm not saying he will or that's going to happen, but 3 or 4 days. That's possible, right?
Sooner.
1 week, right?
Yeah, they don't play for 10 days.
Exactly.
Yeah. See, that's what's not like. We don't know. In 5-6 days from now, Tua, we'll see if whenever he does speak. But yeah, it's on him, man. Like, that's not on us, I think, to tell him how his brain feels, Ty.
Well, and I don't know this for certain, but Pat, you kind of always talk about this too. It's like, with these guys, like when everyone today is basically saying, like you said, hey, you got to take this out of Tua's hands. He's got to retire. He's got to make the right move for his family and everything. When you have everyone telling you, hey, you got to retire. You have to do this. You can't keep
What
playing.
does every athlete do?
Yeah, there's a good chance.
Absolutely not.
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
playing.
It's like, oh, okay, nobody believes in me. Everyone thinks I'm done for. Like, well, how awesome would it be if I do clear the protocol? And I'm not saying this week necessarily, but it could be this week. I clear the protocol, and then what if he goes out and throws for 4 touchdowns, next Sunday and is completely unscathed? It's like, oh yeah, and you guys wanted me to retire. Like, obviously he knows the risks that are there, but I don't know. I just feel like when everyone is telling a guy who's one of 32 in the NFL, like, hey, you need to retire. You need to protect yourself. It's like, okay. Or I can just kind of think about this for a little bit and I can go spin the pill, which is what I really want to do.
Yeah. Pat, do you think, okay. I mean, I guess I don't wonder if everything is going to die down when it comes to this, with Tua's situation, of everyone letting him know what he should do. But yeah, it would be really weird to see him out there in 2 or 3 weeks and see him take another shot. Obviously, that's going to be the conversation. I don't want to see that. Nobody wants to see that, but there's no guarantee that happens. I don't know. I hope Tua and his family at least have a plan going forward, and hopefully he figures something out, because we all worry about him, and his coach does. Obviously, we see the kiss on the head and everything. I was glad that Tua got up and walked away. I know he's been stretchered off with concussions. I was very happy to see him walking off the field.
I don't know the Tagovailoa family, but I've heard about him, right? Well, there's been a lot of stories told about Tua's dad and how he grew up. And I guess he's a righty, but it made him like the whole amount of football and how much football is meant to this family. I think it's going to be very difficult if he gets cleared to go play to tell him he shouldn't play because of potential, that's just a whole nother story.